Hey there, aspiring guitarists. We're going to dive into guitar specifications. And I said in my intro how I use them to talk myself out of buying a guitar. Um, and we're going to talk about all different kind of things. I've got a neck that's off by itself here. We're going to use. I've got a couple of guitars. We're going to talk about everything from the nut width, which you probably know that's the nut where the strings cross over onto the fretboard. We're going to talk about scale lengths. We're going to talk about string spacing. We're going to talk real heavily on neck profiles. Everything from the shape, from a 60s slim C to a modern D to a flat, and we're going to talk about how these things apply. And we're all going to talk about when you don't need to worry about this crap at all. It doesn't matter, because what does matter is what you're doing with the guitar. Um, Different strokes for different folks. Now, one of the things I enjoy about doing this channel is watching people that insist that their way is right. And they're right. Their way is right for them. And the other people's way being right is right for them. So, if you're going to play the guitar and all you're going to do are open chords up here, some C chords, a G, a D, a few other things, you really don't care about what's going on down here. It may not matter to you that the neck tapers and changes from the first fret down to the 12th fret. You may not care. You know, if you're a classical guitarist playing on a classical with a wide nut, and I'll cover that, and you're doing chords and finger style picking, you may not give a rip about anything other than a wide nut width that approaches 2 inches, as opposed to one that's an inch and 11/16 or 42 millimeters. Because we're going to talk about that. You're going to have to realize that you're going to get these specs both in inches and millimeters, but more and more we're getting them in millimeters, so we have to think about that. If you play only one style of music and you only need one guitar, then you may not care about using radius tools, that you can actually figure out what size a fingerboard radius. Are these big ones with the common 7 1/4, 9 1/2, 12, 10. Then you got 16, 15, 20, 14. And what does all that mean? Well, like I said, if you're just playing one style, you only have one or two guitars, you may not give a rip about that. But I do encourage you, especially if you're ever going to buy a guitar online, to find out about your guitar. Now, one of the places that I love for giving a tremendous amount of details is sweetwater.com. And the reason is, when you put in a guitar and you look at it, the format you're going to get with Sweetwater is generally, they're going to have pictures of the guitar. And now a lot of that depends on how expensive a guitar it is, and how many they have of something. Because Sweetwater will actually give you the serial number and different photographs and let you compare guitars to where you're actually looking at the guitar you're going to buy. That's a big plus to some people. And then the format that Sweetwater follows after that, it gives you all the different types of photos. Then it gives you their own team's description, that are full of adjectives and, trying to describe the type of guitar it is, what's good about it. Then it'll have some highlights, and the highlights will be things like, very narrow fretboard, or, humbucker pickups, or any number of descriptive things that mean something to us as guitarists. And then there's usually a video, and then you're going to finally get into the meat and potatoes, which are the specifications. And I'm not overlooking the reviews and things like that, but the specifications are where you're going to find the nut width, the fret height. Are they medium jumbos? Are they narrow tall? What does that even mean? The type of neck, the finish on the material, understanding the difference between the neck material and the fingerboard, because remember, those are two different things. The lighter color is the neck, the darker is the fingerboard. And that's where you get into those radiuses, of what type of fingerboard is it. And this says fingerboard radius. And then, you can get them. I've got several of these Stumacs that actually get down and they'll measure the different things. So, all that's wonderful. It helps me tremendously because I know what I like. And the reason I know what I like is, y'all have heard me talk about the Dupuytren contracture I had that kept me from playing for 5 years. Well, when I finally got that under control and started getting better, I started out with the only thing, because my hand was so gnarled and close together, to where now I can spread it. Just 6 months ago, I couldn't do that. So when I first started getting back into playing, the 7.5 radius neck, a 7.5, a very, very thin neck, and certain nut widths and certain scale lengths were the only thing I could play. I could barely make a C chord. Well, now I don't have a problem making a C chord. So what appeals to me has changed. So those are things you have to think about. Have you played different types of guitars? Are you even aware? I actually know people that have never played any type of guitar other than the one they own. They may have picked up a friend's. I've seen them walk into guitar shops, pick up a guitar to play something, and go, oh my gosh, that plays so easy. Well, a combination, and that's a key word, combination of many of these specifications, the nut width, the fret height, the neck profile, the radius of the fingerboard, the scale length from the nut all the way down to the saddle on the bridge, which you can measure with a simple ruler. I did a little short on that yesterday. But for instance, I use a digital caliper. I told y'all that. Well, the first thing I want to do is turn on. You don't have to use digital. Digital's nice. I started out in the Air Force with a regular old caliper, with the measurements, on the ruler part, and that's where you got it. But anyway, to measure this nut width, all I'm going to do is take it, spread it, and then I'm going to push it in. And I'm in inches right now, so it's 1.66. But I told you, you're going to have to learn to deal with millimeters. So I'm going to press the millimeter inch button. That's the blue button up there. 42.2 millimeters. So, you're going to learn about some common nut widths. Inch and 11/16, inch and 3/4, a 2-inch. Now, let me give you an example. This is my Multiac. It's a classical Moondial by Godin. Now, typically nylons have a much wider nut. The other one you just saw was 42 millimeters. So we'll close it back up. I'm back to 0. And I'm going to open this. And you can see this one is 48.1. Now let's hit 1.89 as opposed to 1.6. Some nylons, true classical guitars, will get 2 inches and more. And then there, I don't know if you can see this, but look at the neck on this compared to the neck. There we go. Let's get them where you can see them side by side. It's pretty easy to tell that the classical style here I'm going up and down with has a flatter neck. You'll find some classicals that are almost completely flat, and that has to do with that radius. Now, you'll also find that certain guitars, like this is one of my Les Pauls, and the scale length on my Les Paul is 24.75. Whereas my Fender I'm going to show you is a 25.5. But the nut width here, let's go back to 0. All right, I'm zeroed. This is 1.71. Let's change it. 434 millimeters. Okay, now, then you've got the radius, which that's a 12-inch radius. And then this is one of my tellies, a Fender telly. So let's go back to 0 again. Same thing here. And I'm not being exactly, all right, 424, 167. Now, is a nut width by itself going to make me want to play that guitar, this Fender, more than that Les Paul? No, it's not. It's a combination of the nut width, the radius, and the style of neck, the fingerboard radius, the scale length, and even some other factors that play into there. But these things help me to eliminate new guitars I see online, because I can look and I can see a nut width is approaching a certain size, combined with a scale length, combined with a radius, combined with the type of neck, whether it's a slim C, a slim D, a beefy 50s Fender Strat neck, or what have you. And then I know, I don't like those, and I know I don't like those. Now, this is a little Squire Mini. And my granddaughter loves it, my wife loves it. I love it. I've even got a video where I put on there, would I gig with this in a heartbeat? I love to play this guitar. It sounds good. No, it doesn't sound as good as my Telly or my high-end Strat or my Les Paul, and I've got little mini Les Pauls, but you'll notice I'm back to 0. Well, this is small, so let's see what we get here. There we are. So 151, let's plus the millimeter, 38.5. All the other ones are 42, 44. So I've got a significantly smaller nut. Well, what does that tell you? I'm sitting here telling you all this, and you might be like, well, what the heck, Dave? Okay. That means you got to fit these 6 strings in a much smaller space, which means that when you go to make a C chord, you're going to be a lot more bunched up than if you're on a big, wide nylon neck. So those kind of things matter. So when I'm looking, this scale length is 23 inches as opposed to 25.5 or 24.75 on the Les Paul and the Strat. So those are the things that matter. So let me go back to where you can apply this. Find out what your guitar has. Write down the specs. Go to Sweetwater. Go to the end. Look at the tech specs, and it'll line it up. It'll tell you the top material, the neck material, the nut width, the neck radius. It'll keep going, the scale length, the frets. Are they narrow, tall? Are they medium, wide? And that means something too. But know your own guitar. Then if you do walk in to a guitar shop, and also know the type of finish you have. Some necks, they just feel better. You're sliding up and down the neck. Now, whoa, ask yourself again, am I ever going to be sliding up and down the neck? Because if I'm just playing up here, what's going on down here doesn't really matter. But if you do play over the neck, now if you're a shredder, if you're a heavy metal that's down here in the near the body and near the down here in what they call the ready to rumble zone and all this, that, and other, well then yeah, that's going to matter a lot to you. But I do encourage you, find out about your own guitar. Go look up the specs of your own guitar. Know them. Put them in notes in your phone. Or whatever the note application is in an Android, or this, that, and other. And when you go to a guitar shop, when you're talking with a guitar buddy and you play the guitar, and you may go, wow, this is real different. He may look at you, and she may look at you and go, well, what scale do you like to play? Oh, well, my guitar is a 24.75. Oh, the Gibson scale, because they know that a lot of the Gibsons, the Les Paul, the SGs, Epiphones are 24.75, whereas the Fenders scales are 25.5. Does that matter? Yes, it does. You may say, no, it doesn't matter, and that's fine. You can say whatever you want to. Guess what? We all can. But if you start playing different guitars, you're going to find out the different specs mean different things, but they are generally in combination with all the things. If a nut width, I do not make a decision on a guitar based on just the nut width. I have a Fender Strat that is different than most Strats. I've got a Kenny Wayne Shepherd edition that I love the way it feels, but it's a different setup. It was modeled after what he wanted. So, again, to demystify all this, you don't have to be a walking knowledge, of what the nut width, the scale length, the radius, the this, the that, the other. Now, I try to buy guitars for kids, so I understand shorter scales, shorter nut widths, and things like that, but do know your own guitar. That way, when you look at a guitar and you're making a thought, that's a good deal on the stupid deal of the day. Do I want that? Well, I got one just the other day, and I saw that it was a 22.5 scale length. This is a very small mini, a baby guitar, travel size guitar. That's too small for me. For some people, it's perfect, but I was like, nah, even with a good price, I don't want that, and my granddaughter doesn't want it either. So that's all I'm trying to say. You can certainly get in the weeds with this, but it's interesting knowledge about guitars. It's kind of like somebody that's a automobile aficionado. They want to know what kind of engine it is, what size of the tires, what's the ratio on the rear end. They want to know all these things because they found out through trial and error and through owning a car what they like, what they don't like. It's just like it doesn't take you long if you get into the mechanic world to find out that a diesel's for torque. It's for pulling. That's its power. A lot of people will guess, but initially a diesel is torque. Where a gasoline engine is for getting up and going. So, it's like a knitter. My wife's a knitter. Well, the different types of needles, they do different things with. Certain needles my wife likes, certain needles my wife doesn't like. Her buddies in her knitting group, may not like what she likes, and they'll have that debate and they'll have that fun. So anyway, that's what this is all about. But I do use these specs to figure out what I don't want to buy, especially in this world of buying guitars online, sight unseen. Once again, you can take this knowledge, go to a guitar store, know that you like a 24.75 Gibson type scale length, and that you like a 12-inch radius neck and a slim C60 style neck, and tell the guitar person that's what you're looking for. So I hope this helped a little bit. I realize it can get into the weeds, but it's part of the fun with guitars, and hopefully having a great and fun guitar journey and carrying it past just playing. So anyway, I hope your guitar journey is blessed. Most of all, hey, happy